dawn over the Indian Ocean, and a new day for the young East African Republic. On October the 21st, 1969, there took place a bloodless socialist revolution in Somalia, one of whose first aims was to forge a healthy economy based upon the united talents of her people. In traditional handicrafts, for example, crafts of wood carving, of stone cutting, ivory, metal, and leatherwork, there previously existed only the single craftsman, catering in a haphazard way for the needs of his tiny local clientele. The revolution changed that, setting up fully equipped cooperatives in which the craftsman's skills could be enhanced through contact with his fellows, in which he could create more and better goods for an expanding market, including a hard currency market overseas. Since the socialist revolution, cotton, for centuries a staple product of the nearby Sudan and of Egypt, has been grown in Somalia on experimental farms set up by the government. In the Shabelle region, the Somaltex textile factory at Balad was built and equipped with the most modern equipment. The intention at the outset was to make the country self-sufficient in bleached and dyed cotton fabrics, an objective now achieved with an annual production of 10 million yards. In the government's plan, hard currency resources previously spent on costly textile imports can now be diverted to other vital development projects. Weaving and pattern making have always been traditional Somali crafts, and the new freedoms offered by a domestic textile industry are encouraging still further these already developed skills. Lying so close to the equator, Somalia grows a great variety of fruits and vegetables. To package these for sale and export, the government built the huge Etop factory at Afgoy. Its positioning is excellent, lying in the very center of the fruit-growing district of the Shabelle and close to Mogadishu's export harbor. Somalia's greatest export is meat, not only as livestock, but also canned and processed. For this reason, the government set up two large canning factories, one in Mogadishu and another in Kismayu to the south. Kismayu now exports some 300 million tins of stewed steak a year to the Soviet Union, while large quantities of corned beef are marketed in Egypt and other countries of the Middle East. 2,000 miles of coastline give Somalia a further natural resource to develop, and fish factories are a growing feature of her coastal towns. The main one at Las Korai in the north is designed to process an annual minimum of 5,000 tons of tuna fish for export. Success in this has led the Ministry of Fisheries and its related agencies to expand their operations and to purchase growing numbers of fishing vessels and storage facilities for the industry. Before the revolution, Somalia's domestic needs were met almost entirely by costly foreign imports. Since 1969, she has gone a long way towards rectifying the situation. The Bail factory in the capital, for instance, now produces soap products, detergents and shampoos, sufficient to meet the entire country's needs. Another light industry developed since the revolution is that of tile making and ceramics here in Mogadishu. Made entirely from stone quarried locally in Burhakaba, the ceramics are the work of local craftsmen, encouraged by the flourishing industry. The finished product now meets not only the nation's needs, but also forms a small but useful source of hard currency revenue through export sales to Somalia's Arab neighbors. Tobacco has been grown on an experimental basis in Somalia for the past 16 years. Following the revolution, the government undertook to build a cigarette factory in Mogadishu that now turns out over 1 million cigarettes a day. The same factory also produces matches of timber cut from the southern forests of Jilib in the lower Juba. This factory, recently built in Mogadishu, is designed to make pasta, spaghetti, macaroni, rigate, from Somali maize, with the aim of making the country self-sufficient in these very essential, very basic foodstuffs. Somalia is famous for her agricultural produce, and above all for her bananas. Bananas are the country's principal cash crop, being exported to the Arab countries and to those of the European Economic Community, such as Italy. From the banana, Somalia earns a full 30% of her entire hard currency revenue. Bananas apart, Somalia is rapidly developing her capacity for producing rice, often in regions far from her two main rivers and based around expanding irrigation schemes. Experimental farms with quality control machinery and facilities for testing various strains are rapidly confirming her government's insistence that soon she can become self-sufficient in rice of the very highest quality. At the same time, Somali farmers working on a cooperative basis and helped by the volunteer labor force called into being by the government's plea for crash programs to develop national resources, have been rapidly expanding the country's output of crops such as maize, sorghum, groundnuts and millet. even non-tropical vegetables such as tomatoes and onions are being grown successfully. But still, livestock is the country's mainstay. Somalia exports literally hundreds of thousands of beasts, cattle, camels, sheep and goats to the Arab countries, where they are highly prized above almost all others. Somalia's livestock has long enjoyed relative immunity from endemic diseases such as anthrax, a fact lately reinforced by the institution of a vigorous government campaign to encourage the use of animal vaccines. With agriculture and livestock playing so vital a part in the country's export drive, Somalia is also building up her own fleet of ships for their transportation. She has invested in larger, more efficient port and harbour facilities. The great Red Sea port of Berbera has already been expanded, while on the Indian Ocean, the capital harbour of Mogadishu is currently being extended to double its present capacity. For centuries, Somalia has been a 100% Muslim country. Yet its religion is far from being confined to the mosque. From the earliest times, Somali children received a basic education in the Quranic schools. Now, since the revolution, and for the very first time in all her history, the country has also her own national schools and university, with Somali teachers giving lessons from books printed in the Somali language. And yet still, the Quranic schools form the basis for a Somali ethic in which the very practical, very pragmatic doctrines of Holy Islam become not mere words, but a very real force and way of life for the people of the young socialist nation.
والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. اللهم اهدنا بهداك واجعلنا ممن يسارع في رضاك ولا تولنا وليا سواك. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Another growing source of revenue for Somalia is tourism. Since 1969, no fewer than 4 great national parks have been created to protect the lives and habitat of the native wild animals that have created such a tourist attraction in other parts of East Africa. Much of Somalia's teeming wildlife is virtually unique to the country, including, apart from the cheetah, lion, elephant and antelope, the wild ass, the kudu and the speak gazelle. In order to promote and cater for this kind of international tourism, The government has built a number of luxury hotels in those cities closest to the national parks. In Mogadishu, the Juba and Uruba hotels, and to the south in Kismayu, the Wamo, where visitors can relax and enjoy the very best of the country's traditional hospitality. And the cities themselves also offer attractions for the tourist, for while the Somalis are a hard-working people, they also know how to enjoy themselves. Above all in the dance, the visitor can travel back over 1,000 years of traditional drama and folk culture during any evening spent in the National Theatre of Mogadishu. Last of all, for those who simply want to soak up the sun, to swim and dream, Somalia offers warm seas and sandy beaches without rival in Africa. A day on the beaches of Somalia is a uniquely rich experience for any traveler lucky enough to have been there. An unforgettable finale to any visit by businessman or holidaymaker to this young, friendly, energetic and exuberant republic on the northeast coast of Africa.